Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue, but with Dan Harms today. So we're going to do something a little bit different for you. It's draft week, and we want to make sure that we cover all the bases, not just the guys that could go in the first and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to hit a few more details. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the sub button, that bell notification, as well as that thumbs up. That always helps. And leave us your comment below. This is not live, just so you know. It might look like it, but it's not. Dan, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. This whole Groundhog Day stuff is getting to me a little bit, but it's going well.
Not going outside, just watching film after film after film, right?
I mean, I do get to go outside a little bit, but yeah, the film is definitely, it builds up, and then you think that you're probably getting close to done, and it's like, no, you got like 5 other people you got to watch, and then they just keep piling up. So,
right. And then I got to go back and double check. Did I really see that, or is he as bad as I thought he was? That's what I always do. We'll get us there zoomed out so we're not
there we go.
Up in the grill there. Sorry. Need to shave probably, but man, I'm pretty excited. This is my favorite time of the year that isn't, playoffs. I love the team building aspect. And for me, the big thing is that, yeah, you have a first round pick, which the Chiefs don't always have actually, but it's not just about that. You can go all the way down in 5th, 6th rounders that eventually become players that you have to rely on, like LDT and a number of others. So I want to kind of talk about like who you think fits, like who are some of your crushes. I want to talk about some of mine. Like who do you want to see on this roster, no matter where they're chosen? Pick a position. Let's talk about it.
Well, I'm going to start at the offensive line, and I've gone quite a bit into Michigan's offensive tape. They have quite a bit of different players over there that I'm looking at. Almost their entire offensive line is actually in this draft from this previous year. Everyone talks about Cesar Ruiz, obviously, as the best interior offensive line guy in this draft, but I want to look to his left and Ben Bredesen, who is one of the probably not talked about very much, but he is a 3-year full starter. He has a bunch of reps. Actually, no, I think he's 4-year starter. Excuse me. He started all seasons at Michigan. He's got a bunch of experience, and he's not talked about very much, mostly because of his, he doesn't flash a huge amount of athleticism or, raw extreme power, but he's extremely sound in his footwork and his technique. Doesn't get beat very often in pass coverage, and he doesn't exactly have, the most elite strength, but he has that dog mentality and that nastiness that you want to see. And a guy like that we drafted last year, and Nick Allegretti, both Big Ten offensive linemen, big guys, burly. They're not going to do anything crazily athletic, but they do enough to pull and get around the edge and get blocks at the next level, which is really, when we're talking about that interior offensive line, the hallmarks of that run game is getting to the next level and getting on those linebackers and opening up holes for your running backs. And he's definitely a guy that I would love to see in this offensive line. He's, like I said, he's not the most athletic, but he does enough to pull. He's got a good first step and gets across the line of scrimmage fast enough to get to that edge guy and get him out of the play. So he's somebody that is definitely going unlooked, mostly I think because of Cesar Ruiz, but he's a guy that could probably come in maybe a year from now being drafted and be a starter on this offensive line.
And I like where you're going, because I think he gets a little bit more push than we've seen in Kansas City lately, out of the guards, the left ones especially. And I have a guy that's one of my crushes. It's literally the same concept. He gets overlooked by Lloyd Cushenberry all the time, and I think that Damian Lewis looks like a young Rodney Hudson to me. He's got a little bit more of that gut up front, right? But he moves people. He's good feet in pass protection. I think he's a guy that could be an heir apparent at the right guard spot eventually. And I hope that they give him a look. I think he could be a decent fit.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that interior offensive line is going to be a big selling point for this draft. There's quite a few guys that can, play center, guard, anywhere on this offensive line, and they're pretty, scattered throughout this draft. And obviously, I think that tackle is a position they're going to start to have to look at as well, with Fisher and Schwartz getting a little bit older. You want to get those heir apparent guys in pretty quickly.
Yeah, and when you look at I think tackle is one of the strengths of this class, to tell you the truth. And at 32, if you can't get out of it, and the big guys. Lately, we've heard a lot about Patrick Queen, Ken Murray going early.
Yeah.
A lot of the corners that I have first-round grades on are likely going to be gone before then. You might actually be faced with a situation where the Chiefs get to the pick at 32, don't have a trade partner, and tackle one of them might be the best guy on their board at that point.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And especially when we're talking about that 32nd pick in the draft, it's really more of a second round pick. It's obviously not you're not going to get one of the elite guys in the draft, but there's going to be quite a few guys that you have maybe fringe first round grades on, second round grades on. And if you, like I said, if you can't get out, you definitely can still get some good value there, especially with those tackles that maybe drop down the board a little bit with maybe an Ezra Cleveland, like you said, a Josh Jones, those kind of things. So there's going to be some value there at 32.
You're like reading my board already. Folks, that'll be out tomorrow. We'll go over the whole thing, but those two guys are exactly where I have them in the top 10 picks of the second round. So I think we're on the same page. Yeah. All right, so let's get off the offensive line. You want to go defense or you want to talk about specialists? What grabs you?
I actually just got done looking at Amrik Robertson out of Louisiana Tech. He's a corner. He's 5'9"-ish, fringe 5'9" player. Maybe. I mean, he could be shorter. Who knows? He's definitely on the shorter end for a corner. And I definitely don't see him starting on the boundary in the NFL. That's where he played at Louisiana Tech. And actually, he's got a very productive college career, a bunch of picks, a bunch of pass defenses, and he's got those instincts and the play of a guy that plays off the ball a little bit better, reads the field, exceptionally high football IQ, and that's somebody that really could make a transition to that third safety that we have actually grown to like a little bit in this offense. The linebackers don't have the coverage ability that we would really want in a Patrick Queen or a Kenneth Murray, the guys that we've all looked at in the first round. And having those three safeties has really helped, really drive that Chiefs defense to the Super Bowl victory. Having Kendall Fuller come back and solidify the coverage a little bit better around those linebackers that don't play as well in coverage. And I think that Robertson has some of the traits that you're looking for in a safety. And the biggest thing for me is that high football IQ, and you can see it. He's always processing. He sees things before they happen. He reacts more of actually an anticipatory thing instead of a reaction, which is what you want to see from a safety coming from the college level to the NFL. And I think getting him in a room with Juan Thornhill and Tyrann Mathieu would just increase that talent level exponentially.
I'm glad that you bring up Mathieu because 5'8" and 3/8 is Robertson
Exactly.
official. He's like the only guy smaller than Tyrann Mathieu.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. They have some of those hybrid. He could fit that mold eventually. I actually see him more as just a straight nickel. He could eventually move back there for me, but that's fine. But like you said, he and Gladney are two guys that get their hands on the ball the most.
A lot.
Actually have more PBUs than starts in their college career. And I think that for me, I think Robertson's, a value Gladney pick because I think it's probably going to be around the fourth round.
That's actually exactly where I have him going, is around the mid fourth round pick, and that's great value right there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Another guy, and just to keep the Mathieu thing going, another guy that I still like, and I know people are tired of hearing me say it, so I'm going to ask you your opinion. But I think Diggs at the top of the second is a guy that wears number 7 because of Tyrann Mathieu. Where do you see him going? Am I overblown on him?
I don't think so. I've actually seen quite a few mock drafts with him going in the first round as early as the Dallas Cowboys have seen a few going there. But they're more linked with, CJ Henderson and that kind of thing. So it really is going to depend on how this draft falls. If we start seeing a run early on cornerbacks, then I think that Diggs is going to go in the first round. But if we start to see, the tackles go, the wide receivers go, maybe Henderson makes it past the Jaguars at 9, and then that's when you start to see some of this cornerback, the corners that really have first round potential in Fulton and Henderson and Gladney. They start to go down that list, and Diggs is someone who's been talked up a lot on, and I think that if everything goes the way that I assume it goes, we'll see more corners around the back end of that first round, and I think Diggs could slide right up in there.
Yeah. Just between you and me, I kind of think Fulton's a guy that I keep my eye on. I like him, especially in the 30s, but I don't know if he'll get there.
That's funny because I think before the combine, Fulton was like cornerback 2, and then Henderson blew up, and now we've seen Fulton kind of slide down, and I'm just kind of like, keep going, keep going, keep going.
I'm completely with you. One other little note: I like Snead, the guy who plays with Robertson at the safety spot. I think he's kind of undervalued. But let's say that they get to 32 in particular, but this could even happen at 63 because there's, like you said, there's pushing down of the board because of the strengths, right? So let's zig when they're zagging. At either of those picks, given the strength of the board has probably come off in tackles, wide receivers, etc. What are a couple other guys that you like from your film review that could sneak in there at other positions?
So I'm going to go into the second round, and I think there's a guy in Josh Uche who's actually getting kind of more first. I've seen a few about him in the first round, but I think that he's not had the starts that you want to see from a college prospect at this point, and he's pretty much just flashed in both areas. He played defensive end and linebacker at Michigan, and he's really more of, as they played him in a pass rush stance, he was more of a coming into the third. Before that, around the second. Excuse me. Wow, I can't talk right now. The second down and third down pass rush, and he was actually playing more better in coverage in the back part of last season. I've seen a few clips of him getting his hip work down. He's got really smooth hips for a guy that didn't play linebacker very much. And if he starts to slide down the board, in the second round, I think that he could be a chess piece to give Steve Spagnuolo that could plug him in, as a backup in the edge on the pass rushing, and then you can kind of throw Frank Clark inside and really mess with the offensive line and their ability to block, and then he can slide in. Possibly, I think he's fast enough to play well in the NFL. I really do, and that's an area that the Chiefs do need in at will linebacker. So he's definitely a multiple, versatile guy that I think could just kind of do it all for Spags in the front seven.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know that he got some nice bend at the Senior Bowl. He really made his name there, I think. I still see him as he would have fit the last scheme a little bit better as a 3-4 outside linebacker myself. But, I like what you're saying about a chess piece, especially when you consider Alex Okafor. He's known to drop more so than a lot of others, so you could fit that piece in. I have him at mid-second, 10-ish in the second. I'm fine with that. There's a couple other guys there that I think as we drop down, I'm not huge on this draft class for the edges in particular. Yeah, I think there's some guys that bop around back and forth. Big question for you. How do you feel about Zach Bond, and what should he do at the next level?
So this has been, an area that I've seen quite a bit. I follow a lot of draft guys on Twitter, and a lot of talk about him, what he's going to be, an edge, or is he going to be a linebacker? I think his talents best come in as an off-ball linebacker. I think more of a Sam type. I'm not entirely sold on his sideline-to-sideline speed to play a will, especially in this defense, but I think that that's probably where he's going to be best at Sam, being able to stand up at the beginning of the first downs and such on running downs, and then get down in the dirt on the third downs, kind of slide back into that edge position where he's been productive at Wisconsin. So I haven't done a full amount of, a bunch of tape on him, but I do think that his IQ lends itself more to a linebacker than it does an edge at this point.
IQ, I'm with you. In fact, I'd play him at Sam as well, but unfortunately, I have him pretty low. I have him mid-second. I don't get any of this first-round stuff about him.
I think it's more
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's more to do with the low-end linebacker class. People are kind of trying to project up because of the lack thereof really good linebackers in this class.
Yeah, and it is a stretch. That position change is not easy. People are going to remember Hassan Reddick. We know how that experiment worked out. It's a difficult thing to do. And I feel for Vaughn, I like his attitude. I feel like he's a solid worker and a guy that you could build a defense around. But I don't feel that he's a true edge at the next level, and I'm not sure that he's got the speed, like you said, to be a linebacker. I think he may be another case where, like Reddick, he's just caught in between, and it's about adaptation. I'm gonna cross my fingers he can do it, but I'm not sold yet. So, one guy I want to talk to you about that I've been kind of holding back on since I watched his tape. After lockdown, but not very. It was like the first week of lockdown, so it's been 3 good weeks I've been holding on to this one. But my sleeper, a guy that if the Chiefs have to pick at 32 and they're stuck, they can't get out, I don't imagine that. I'm still referring to this as the Love Hurts pick because I think somebody's coming for those guys.
Yeah.
The guy that keeps, every time I look at him, I see Spags like drooling and Daly just going out of his mind. Marlon Davidson makes me happy about what he can do from a 3-tech all the way out to the edge.
Yeah, and when you talk about versatility on the front four, that's something that they absolutely want on this defensive line. He wants to be able to throw a bunch of different looks at an offensive line and just consistently have fresh bodies and just throw guys, at edge, at 3-tech, at 1-tech, and just continuously mess with the minds of the offensive lineman. And like you said, he does that. It's difficult for me to say to just draft him at 32 just because he would be able to do all these different things. I still think that they probably want to go a different direction, but it would be I agree that it'd be such a fun thing to add and just throw a wrench in all those offensive linemen and be like, here, go ahead, try to block these guys. Good luck.
I agree. All right, we're gonna finish up. 2 things. Overall, doesn't matter what position, what spot on the board, who's the biggest guy that you just like him and you want him on this team? Who's your biggest draft crush?
Denzel Mims. Give me Denzel Mims. I know that I've actually mentioned it before on the podcast, more of a joking, on the channel, more of a joking aspect last time. But I watched his tape, and I get that he didn't create a bunch of separation at Baylor, but I watched his one-on-ones in the Senior Bowl, and it showed me that I don't think he was being properly utilized in Baylor's offense. He wasn't asked to run a bunch of different routes, and he showed his versatility in his short area quickness. He ran a 4.39 at the combine. The dude is fast. He's big. He's got great hands. He can adjust to the ball wherever it's thrown. And he just showed me at the Senior Bowl that he can create separation quickly. And I don't care that he's not going to come into play right away. We've got, Robinson back and Sammy Watkins back. Give me the guy that's going to come in 2021 and just absolutely explode next to Tyreek Hill on the other side. I'm all for it. Just give me Denzel Mims.
All right. I guess that's fair. When it comes down to it for me, I want somebody to do the exact opposite. I want somebody to just stomp everybody that tries to run a route, whether that's Ruggs in Denver or maybe in Las Vegas, whether it's Cortland Sutton. I want somebody that can jack somebody underneath the chin and make that receiver stop. So I'm still stuck on Diggs, folks. It is what it is. But last question. Full scenario, who's the choice at 32, no matter who it's for?
I'm sorry, I didn't really understand the question.
Who goes with the 32nd pick?
Oh, team-wise.
Predict the player. Not even team-wise. Who's the player?
Oh, okay. 32nd pick. Well, let's see here. We got – man, this is a difficult one. I think someone's got to be trading up. I don't think the Chiefs are going to stay at 32. I think Mims will fall at 32. At this point, I think he's going to fall there. But I think we're going to talk about the Colts trading up for Jordan Love because I think he's going to fall into the second round. There's a bunch of talk about, Tua Tagovailoa maybe not going in the top half. So I think he might slide into the bottom if he gets past the Patriots. I think maybe the Colts look to trade up for that quarterback of the future because, Rivers is Philip Rivers, and he's not going to be there for past a year maybe. So I think maybe the Colts want to come and get that guy.
Man, I can't see the Chiefs trading with the Colts just because they're in the conference, but I like where you're going because I think it's going to be Jalen Hurts right there.
Yeah, see, it's one of the two. I didn't know who it was going to be. I think Love's going to fall, but I actually really like Jalen Hurts, and I think that with the proper situation, he could actually be a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. But yeah, someone's got to come get one of these two guys, I think.
Yeah, you gotta have a QB coach, but hey, it is what it is. Folks, we want to know who you want to see. Leave us your comments below. Pick 32, pick what the Chiefs do. We don't care. Dan, thanks for all your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And folks, we'll be back. We got more for you. The draft board is released tomorrow. You'll see the video. It'll be available for download as well in a PDF. So keep it here. Thanks for watching all this today. If you're not subbed, hit that now so you don't miss tomorrow. Appreciate you guys' time, and we'll talk to you next time.